Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Rhodes. I'm the undergraduate director here, social work program at UNC Greensboro. And this video is for advising for the spring semester 2022. So this is fall 2021. And this video is going to be walking you through advising for the spring semester 2022. This is going to be a lengthy video. In the past, I've divided the videos up for freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors. And so I've had 3 different videos kind of floating out there. I'm going to compress it into one video. So this is going to be a longer video. And you should have the capacity to be able to kind of forward to where you need to be in the video. I would just prefer to have one video out there instead of 3 or 4 videos kind of floating around so that all the information is in one place. And I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between a PowerPoint, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the mechanics of looking up classes. There's been some changes at the university in relation to general education requirements. Most of you are under what's called the General Education Core, or the GEC, when you look at DegreeWorks. And some of you are going to be under the new academic curriculum, which is called Minerva Academic Curriculum, or MAC, M-A-C. There's not much difference in the courses that you take, but there's difference in how you look up these courses and where courses get plugged into different areas. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that. So there's a couple of components going to happen in this video. One of them is going to break it down. This is what seniors need to do. This is what juniors need to do. This is what freshmen and sophomore need to do. I'll have PowerPoints to kind of explain certain things. I'm going to pull up DegreeWorks and kind of walk you through DegreeWorks a little bit. On the mechanics of DegreeWorks, I have a video that I've sent out on navigating DegreeWorks. Once again, I can't reinforce enough that you really need to orient yourself to DegreeWorks. Like, the first thing you need to do is orient yourself to DegreeWorks. That is your degree evaluation that lets you know what courses you need, how many credit hours you need, which is 120 for most of you, some of you 122. How many credit hours you have completed and are currently enrolled in, and it's going to let you know all the requirements that you've met. So we'll kind of toggle back and forth with those things in this video. So requesting that you bear with me. Some of this stuff is repetitive for some of you. And if you do need to kind of move forward to your class standing, like you're a senior, you know all this stuff, you got all your general education requirements done, you don't have to worry about them as much. You can kind of forward to this video towards the latter part where, actually, I'll probably do seniors first. So you can start off with the seniors, and then you may not have to watch the rest of the video. But if you're like a junior or sophomore, you may want to move forward in the video a little bit to get to this point. So there's just a couple of housekeeping things I need to let you know. So one of them is essential. We do not know when your registration window opens up. This is advising. This is not registration right now. As of recording this video, which is on October the 9th, which is a Saturday, which is the week before advising. So advising is established at the university on October 13th, 14th, 15th, and a little bit beyond that. It's just advising. This is not registration. Registration happens at different times based on your class standing. I don't know when registration opens up, and I don't know when your particular registration opens up. I get this email often from students like, when am I able to register? I don't know. You have to log into your UNC Genie account and go to the registration section, and you usually choose like fall or spring 2022 or whatever, and it will tell you when your specific registration window opens up. It is essential that you register for classes as soon as your registration window opens up. It opens up at like 11:59 for most students, but you do not want to drag your feet on that. Courses fill up quickly, and especially the general education courses, we don't have any control over that. So I can't get you in general education courses that are full. So, you know, I have students who will email me December, January, right before the semester starts. Well, I haven't registered for courses, and there's limited options for you. So you need to check when your registration window opens up. You may not be able to see it right now. It's whenever the registrar's office places that in the UNC Genie section. But you need to check when your registration windows opens up. I don't know when it opens up. We don't know when it opens up. And then you need to register for your classes as close to that opening as you can. If you are a senior with X number of credit hours, 100, 110, your registration window is going to open up first. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, it's going to be later in the date. You will see this on DegreeWorks. It'll have like freshman 1, freshman 2, freshman 3, sophomore 1, sophomore 2, sophomore 3. It doesn't necessarily align with the credit hours. This is another email that I get from students. Well, I'm a junior, but my DegreeWorks says I'm a sophomore, but it may have sophomore 2. That's more of a registration, because with the number of students we have at the university, they have to kind of stagger when registration windows open up. So you may be at a junior, you may have 60 credit hours and it may still be listed as a sophomore 2 or something like that. That doesn't mean you're not a junior. It just means they're looking at a particular time and trying to plug you in at a certain time so that it doesn't overwhelm the system that all sophomores register at one particular time. So the number of credit hours may not necessarily align with the number or what it says that you are in as far as your class standing, like sophomore, junior, or something like that. So once again, we don't know when your registration window opens up. You know when it is, and it's in your DegreeWorks, and so you need to check that and make sure. Courses are listed on Banner for the spring semester, but there's some glitches. The university had pressed us to upload courses earlier than we usually do. And so there were some mistakes that came with that. One particular, and I'll show it when I bring up looking up courses, research methods. So for juniors who are in 310, 311 currently, social work 310, 311, and will be taking social work 315, 325, and 351 in the spring. Research methods is social work 325. It will be offered as an online course. It's listed on dates like Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 a.m. or something like that. That will be an online course. That is not a course that is offered in class. So research methods will be offered online. And so that will be updated probably Monday, right before advising starts. And then research methods is a writing intensive course, and professional skills, which is social work 351, is a speaking intensive course. I will go over this again. It's not listed on Banner. It's not listed in the course listings, but it will be Monday. So for those of you who would need an additional writing and speaking intensive course, social work research methods 351 is speaking intensive, and research methods, social work 325 is writing intensive. Professional skill, social work 351 is speaking intensive. All this stuff is floating in my head. I apologize about that. So that will be listed on Banner under the courses, probably starting Monday. We'll be able to update that Monday. Those are just kind of some housekeeping things. The one thing, and I'm going to just pull it up in the PowerPoint, because I'm going to go over a little bit of a PowerPoint here. There we go. Let's do this. Okay. So fall advising, what do I need to take and how do I get in my classes? The first thing that I just constantly need to reinforce with students is that you have to take responsibility for your education. What that means is orienting yourself to DegreeWorks. What are the courses that you need to take? What are the general education courses you need to take? When you are looking up courses, does that particular course that you're looking up meet a general education requirement that you need for a particular course? It gets really frustrating. As I say, we have 400 students, and students will often email me and they'll say, I'm taking this history course. Does it meet this, GHP, historical perspective? And I'm like, you look at your DegreeWorks, it tells you whether it meets it or not. So what you're doing is you're asking me to do your responsibility, which is you're just, hey, can you look at my DegreeWorks for me and tell me if this course meets this requirement? That's your responsibility. And it is your responsibility when you're looking up courses to check, and I will show you how to do this in this video, and I've done it in other videos before, and I've done it when we actually were meeting in person. When you look this stuff up in Banner, it tells you if a course meets a specific general education requirement. So you need to learn and orient yourself to that. Don't rely on us to do this. We make mistakes. You know, we're advising 400 students at different areas of their educational status and where they are and courses that they need and stuff like that. If you're relying on us to do these things for you, you're not taking responsibility for your education, and you're leaving yourself open for us to make mistakes, and that could impact your educational career and the courses you take. I learned this the hard way when I was an undergraduate student. Actually, was not a learn hard the way. I actually figured it out pretty quickly. When I first started at UNC Greensboro, I transferred in from a community college, and I sat down with an advisor. I come up with my schedule. This is when we did it with a paper and pencil. And I had a course listed that met a general education requirement. He was like, no, you need to take this other course. And I was like, this is not right, you know? So he had me put this other course. When I left his office, I changed it back to the original course, and I was right. You know, you have to remind yourself that the system is kind of changing. Some faculty stay on top of it. As the director of a program, I try to stay on top of these curriculum changes and these courses changes and stuff like that. We can't keep up with them all. And so if I had listened to him, I would have taken a course that would have been unnecessary, and then it would have put me behind. And so I was able to go back and look. So his advisor was there for me. He was helpful, but he didn't know everything 100%. So you must take responsibility of your education and go behind us and check and make sure these courses, and we're there to help you and, you know, look at these things. And yeah, that's a course you need to take, or that looks like that's a course you need to take. And we know these systems. I mean, we're ingrained in these systems for long periods of time, but ultimately the responsibility falls on you to make sure you're in the courses that you need to be in, that you're finding the courses you need to take, and that we're not telling you, especially at the general education level, just take this course. You are college students. You have the autonomy and the flexibility to take courses that you're interested in, that's also related to the courses that you need to take to meet general education requirements. I don't like to learn helplessness with students when they come. I was like, just kind of tell me what to take, especially for social work. You are going to go into communities. You're going to be working with populations that are historically marginalized and disenfranchised. You've got to take the responsibility to understand complex systems to help them navigate that. And there's no better way of doing that than becoming a student who takes responsibility of your education. So you need to take responsibility of your education. We're here to help guide you, give you advice, to advise you, but ultimately that responsibility falls on you. Next one, go back. Okay. I can't reinforce this enough. I reinforce it every time I do advising. Every time students come up on their final year, they're short the credit hours they need to graduate, and they're upset, and they're like, how did this happen? I don't understand how this happened. This happened because you're not taking responsibility for education, and you're not monitoring degree works and being aware of the number of credit hours you need. When you look at the video on navigating degree works, I have two of them floating out there now, one that I did last year and one I did this year because of the update of the new curriculum. You need 120 hours to graduate. There's a handful of you that need 122 hours to graduate. Majority of you at this point need 120 hours to graduate. There was a change in the university policy, shifted it from 120 to 122 to 120, which is great. That's given our students a lot more flexibility, and we're seeing a lot less students come up in their final semester where they were 1 or 2 credits shy. But invariably, I always have a handful of students who come up, and it's really heartbreaking. If it comes up like in the fall semester and you calculate your hours, you're fine. But I've had students come up literally halfway through the spring semester, senior year. They think they're going to graduate on time, and they're short. They're like 118 hours or 116 hours. They don't have 120 hours. They get extremely upset. They get angry. How did this happen? I don't understand how this happened. This is your fault. And even I had students where I've looked at their degree works, and like I said, I've missed it, because any given day when I'm working with students doing advising on Zoom or students coming in my office, I'm looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 degree works in a given day where you have access to your degree works 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can constantly check and monitor your degree works. And it's really not that complicated. It's not that complicated. If you take 15 semester hours each semester over 4 years, you're going to have 120 hours to graduate. If you're taking 12 semester hours, you are not going to have 120 hours to graduate. I blame DegreeWorks on this somewhat because DegreeWorks is really great. It has everything listed, has all these nice little check marks, and you have all these check marks on DegreeWorks and you think you're done. You still need 15 hours of free electives. What that means is you need 15 hours of any course that you want to take at the university to reach the 120 hours to graduate. So just because DegreeWorks has a bunch of little check marks does not mean that you have the 120 hours you need to graduate. So you always want to check and monitor and maintain, and it's best if you do this every semester. These are the number of hours of courses I've completed. These are the number of hours of courses I'm taking this semester, and then you subtract that from 120 hours, and that's the number of hour courses you need to graduate. So just kind of maintain that and keep an eye on it. So for seniors, you should be in social work 411, 413, and 415. What that means is you're in your field placement, you're in your seminar, you're in your methods class, and you're taking whatever final courses you need for your minor, you're taking the upper level 400 level course. You need to register for social work 412, 414, and 416 at the same time. That means that you go into UNC Genie, you go to registration, you go to the add drop section, and then you, in those little triangular boxes, you enter the CRN number, the course registration number for 412, 414, and 416 at the same time. And then that way you're in, these are co-requisite courses. And so that way you're going to be in these courses at the same time. So what you try to do is if you have a field liaison who is a UNCG faculty person, you will know this when you look at the 414, 416 list, then you try to register for that UNCG faculty person. If it's an A&T person, then you try to get in Professor Thull's section of 414, 416, very similar to what we did this past semester. And then he tries to get you in the course that you need to be in and make sure that you stay on track with the field liaison and field seminar course that you're supposed to be in. So, but you do need to enter 412, 414, and 416 at the same time. And you also need to make sure that you are in what other courses that you need. If there's courses you need to finish your general education requirement, you should have them done. Or if you're trying to get an upper level course, or if you're working on another upper level course in another department and you're working with us, you need to kind of check with us and make sure that you're in the right course. So this is just kind of an example. I will try to bring this up a little bit, but you go to, you log in, you UNC Genie, you go to the student registration, you click the registration section, then the add drop classes, and then you enter the CRN number 412, 414, and 416 at the same time. I can't walk you through it because I'm not a student, won't let me do that, but that's what you attempt to do. And once again, try to register for the section 414, 416 that corresponds with the UNCG field liaison. If your field liaison is at A&T, then you try to get in Professor Thull's section. So for seniors, that's it. That's pretty much all you need to do. You may need to check with either me or Professor Thull at some point and just check in and just kind of eyeball your degree works, make sure everything is in place. Also check the number of credit hours. Make sure, because when I'll walk through this and you can go to the degree works video because you need 120 or you need 122, the number right under that is the number of hours that you are currently enrolled in. So you subtract those two numbers, that's how many hours you need to graduate. So if you're at 110 credit hours this fall semester, that means you need 10 more credit hours to graduate. If you go over that credit hours, it doesn't matter. You just need to make it to that credit hours. So you just need to make sure you monitor and pay attention to that. So juniors, you need to have completed social work 215 before you take social work 310 and 311. So just because your degree work says you're at a junior status, you cannot enroll in Social Work 310 and 311 until you take Social Work 215. So this will also apply to sophomores. We would prefer freshmen not take Social Work 215 their freshman year and focus primarily on your general education core requirements. If you are a sophomore at this point and have not completed Social Work 215, you will want to be in Social Work 215 in the spring semester. And so this is why it is essential. Our Social Work 215 class fills up. We have a lot of majors. We have a lot of people who are interested in the major. And so you need to make sure that you register for that class as soon as it opens. If you're a junior and you're like changing your major and you want to kind of continue the social work path, then you need to make sure you get into Social Work 215 also in the spring semester. We do offer a section in the summer. Once again, it fills up pretty quickly. We have a lot of transfer students who take the Social Work 215 over the summer because they wanted to stay on track and not be behind a year. So the summer course fills up pretty quickly. As a reminder, Social Work 310 and 311 are only offered in the fall semester. We have a pretty rigid schedule. It's based on a 2-year block. So if you are a junior right now, you have completed Social Work 215, then you need to have been in Social Work 310 and 311 right now. If you are in Social Work 310 and 311 currently, you will be applying to the social work major. I will be sending videos out about that, and we will be communicating to you about the applying to the major. The application process is probably going to open up sometime at the beginning of November, and then the application is due December the 7th. You need to register for Social Work 315, 325, and 351, which are only offered in the spring semester. So this seems counterintuitive, but this is what you need to do. You need to register for 315, 325, and 351 with the assumption that you're going to be admitted into the major. You don't wait until you hear back. The application is due December the 7th. You're not going to hear back from us until sometime around the middle of December or towards the end of December that you've been admitted to the program. So you don't want to wait that long to register for classes. If you're in Social Work 310 and 311 right now, you want to register for Social Work 315, 325, and 351 in the spring semester as soon as your registration window opens up. And as a reminder, Research Methods, Social Work 325, currently, as I do this video, has course days and hours listed. Our Research Methods course is going to be an online course, so you will be taking that online. So don't worry about that course conflicting with other courses. What will happen is by the time registration window opens up, that will be corrected on Banner, and so it won't compete with other courses. And as a reminder, 351, our professional skills class, is a speaking intensive course. 325, a research methods class, is a writing intensive course. And as juniors, you need to try to make sure that you're getting all your general education courses done. That is a requirement for entering senior field. What that means is by the end of next summer, you will need to have completed all your general education courses before you go into field placement. Not by the time you apply to the major, not by the time you apply to field in the spring semester, not by the time you end the spring semester. By the end of summer next year, you need to ensure that you've completed all your general education courses before you go into field. For freshmen and sophomores, let me actually want to show this to you really quickly. For juniors, you may hear that I have a cat sitting in my lap that's upset that I'm talking a lot. Okay, so just to show this for juniors, so to look up courses, this goes for freshmen and sophomores. You go to UNC Genie, you click that, and then you go down to class schedule, and you click class schedule. And then you want to look at spring 2022, which is view only. And then in the subject heading, SWK is social work, click search. And then here are the list of social work courses. I always like to do this at 50. So just to show, for 315, that will be an in-class course, and we have 4 sections. We should have 4 sections of 315 that are available. 325 are research methods. It has the dates listed, but it's not those days. And actually, if you click it, and then if you look, it will tell you that it is an online course. So when you look at these courses and you look up the attributes of these courses and stuff, it will tell you it's an online course. So it was an error with the registrar's office. And so we're sending a message for them to correct that, and they will correct it by Monday. And then it will also indicate that it's a writing intensive course. Let me see if it indicates it here. That's attributes, course details. So course description, it is not listed in it. So we need to also let the registrar's office know that it needs to be listed. And then 351, which is all going to be offered in person, is a speaking intensive course. So for juniors, you need to make sure that you are in 315, 325, and 351. Okay. So I think that should be good for juniors. So for freshmen and sophomore, you need to continue to focus on your general education courses. So you need to have them completed before you enter your field placement senior year. Sophomores at a state, you need to take social work 215, introduction to social work sometime your sophomore year. So you should either be in it now, or you need to be taking it in the spring semester or the summer. But preferably you need to take it in the spring semester. And you cannot take social work 310 and 311 until you complete social work 215. So this will put you back an entire year. And these are some things we've had come up. And this is part of the thing where I talk about taking responsibility for your education. I've reinforced this over and over in videos. I know these videos get lengthy. You're hearing me drone on and stuff like that, but this is vitally important information. If you are not taking social work 215 your sophomore year, and you're thinking you can get in social work 310, 311, it's not going to happen, and it's going to put you behind an entire academic year. So you need to make sure that you pay attention to that. So overrides, I have the capacity to do overrides for certain courses. This has been a little bit more complicated with COVID. So what will happen sometimes is some of our courses will be at capacity. And that means that there's restrictions. There's a certain number of students that are only allowed in a course, and we can sometimes override that. I cannot do that with other courses, and we don't have the capacity to do that under COVID with us being in class. What that means is social work 215, I think, as I looked briefly, we're offering 2 sections with 35 courses. So in the past, I've been able to squeeze 1 or 2 more students in there and get it up like 36, 37. The university will not allow us to do that. And so that means that I don't have that autonomy and flexibility. Now, as COVID numbers decline, as we've given a little bit more flexibility and autonomy, I may be able to do that. We do want to ensure that our students stay on track. So there are some opportunities, it's like 315, 325, 351. If those courses are over capacity, there is the ability for me to do an override to make sure you get into that course so that we can keep you on track. It's a lot more complicated now, but I still have the authority to do that, but we can't get them over capacity. So what that means is and this is also the importance of registering for classes when your registration window opens up. So it's not our responsibility to have the schedule work around your personal schedule. We offer courses at a variety of times, and we try to offer enough courses that students have an opportunity to take them. If one of our social work courses competes with another course and you want to get into a Monday section and it's at capacity, we're not going to do an override for it. We are not working around your personal schedule, your work schedule. You have to take the courses that are available when they're available, when you can get into them. We don't have that flexibility and autonomy to squeeze you into another course just because it doesn't work with your personal schedule. I cannot do overrides for courses in other departments or programs. This is one of the emails I get a lot. So like a student will be trying to get into like a Spanish class or a history class or something that's going to meet a general education requirement. And they're like, hey, can you get me in this course? Absolutely not. I don't work in those other departments. I can only do overrides for courses in the social work program. So you just need to, and this is also why it's essential. This generally happens with students who, when the registration window opens up, they just wait, they don't pay attention, and they kind of lag behind, and they don't register for classes until like December, beginning of January. They're scrambling to get in courses that are full, and they're like, hey, can you get me in this course? No, I can't. I do not do overrides for other courses. We will try to make sure, to the best of our ability, given the restrictions on campus, especially for juniors that need to be in 315, 325, and 351, that we can get you in those courses. We will not get you in those courses to meet your personal schedules or anything like that. As noted, for juniors, you will need to be enrolled in social work 315, 325, and 351 in the spring semester. General education requirements. So I'm going to walk through this here. So to maximize, this is for freshmen and sophomores, to maximize your general education requirements, I often tell students to consider taking like a GLT, a GFA, or a GPR that also is like a global or global non-Western. And so I'm going to walk you through this and how to look at these things. For the new curriculum, the MAC, which is the Minerva Academic Core, this is not going to be as much of an issue because MAC courses are designated specifically for MAC courses. I don't think they're cross-listed in different courses. I'm not as oriented to that, as familiar with that now. So that's something that you could kind of look at and try to figure out. But from my understanding, whereas you would be able to do this with GPR courses, the general education courses, for those of you who are now under the MAC designation, you don't have that kind of autonomy. The courses are kind of set in place. If you are a student who has recently changed your major, so that means you've entered the university under a catalog of like 1 or 2 years ago, what will happen is you will see general education core under your old major, and then under your new major, you'll see Minerva Academic Curriculum. So when you change majors, it'll pop you into a new academic catalog. It really should not change things that much. It seems kind of overwhelming when you're looking at it and trying to toggle back and forth. But what I've seen when I'm looking at student degree works is it really does not change things that much. So I'm going to kind of show you the difference between the general education core and the Minerva Academic Curriculum. I'm going to log into that. So give me 1 second here. So what you will do, this is going to take a couple of times. Just to walk you back through this, you should be familiar with this by now. But for those of you who are not, you go to the UNCG website. Once again, you have these 4 circles up here. And the UNC Genie one is this one. You click it, and then you click the Enter Secure Area. And log in, and then you're going to go to Student. And the information that you need to know is here. Of course, here's registration. You click it, and then you click the Add Drop Classes, and then you click Spring. It's not even listed now. So when it will list Spring 2022 and click Submit, that will tell you when your registration window opens up. So going back, under this is student records, and then you will see DegreeWorks right here. I'm not a student, so a DegreeWorks won't pop up for me, but that's where the DegreeWorks will look like. So I'm going to pull up a mock student and show you what DegreeWorks is going to look like for you, both under the general education core requirement and Minerva Academic. Okay, let me show you DegreeWorks. So this is a mock student. This is not a real student. So we're not giving away any sensitive information. This is a pre-human development family studies student. So I'm going to do the what if analysis. And I'm going to go down to this catalog year, and this is all in navigating degree work. So I'm not going to go into huge detail, but I probably will a little bit. So for a lot of you, you are under the older catalog system. So that means you will see the general education core requirements. And those are the GLT, GFA, GPR. This is general literature, general fine arts, general philosophy and religion, historical perspective, math, all these other courses. So this is what most of you will see. And then you'll see the writing and speaking intensive, the global non-Western, and then the social work courses down along here. Once again, just to remind everyone, I can get this over here one second. Here it is. It's 120 hours. I can't reinforce this enough. 120 hours that most of you need to graduate. And these are the number of credit hours applied. That's the number that you have completed. If you're a transfer student, that includes the number of hours that have transferred in and are currently enrolled in. It's simple math. You subtract those two, those are how many hours you need to graduate. This is the overall GPA. So that lets you know what your overall GPA is for everything you've taken. You need a 2.5 to get into the major. And so this is your overall GPA right here. So these are the two really main things you need to look at. Number of credit hours you need to graduate. And what will happen for a lot of students is you will see all these check marks, but below this, and it's not listed here, are what are called electives. And you need a semester's worth of free electives. And they usually are worked into courses you take over your academic career. So if you have all these check marks and you don't have any electives down here, you are a semester behind. So you need to continue to maintain and monitor this. So for a lot of students, and I'll walk through this because I'm going to pull up looking at courses here. So a lot of students, you are looking at these general education requirements, and often I will tell students, look at doing like a cultural and diversity elective that also meets like a general education requirement. And so I will show you an example of those here in a little bit. There is a handful of you that's going to be under the Minerva academic curriculum, and your degree works is going to look like this. So instead of general education core, it has Minerva academic curriculum. Not many changes as far as number of credit hours you need. The title of the courses are different. Written communication, oral communication, quantitative reasoning, health and wellness, critical thinking, human and fine art. So they just changed the names a little bit, and they were just updating the curriculum. The curriculum had not been updated for years, and so we were just updating the curriculum. Once again, these things stay the same. You are going to need 120 hours to graduate, or 122. Most of you will need 120, and these are the number of credit hours you have. And then everything below this, the major and the social work, stays pretty much the same. Okay, you're a freshman to sophomore. How do you look these courses up? Let's start with the Minerva academic curriculum. So going back here, you go to UNC Genie, and then you go to class schedule, spring 2022. And then this window is going to pop open, and you see you have subjects like social work is there, history, philosophy, religion. But you go back and let's say, okay, I need a MAC, critical thinking, human and fine arts. It seems kind of complicated. So you go down here, general education attributes, you start typing in MAC, and then the listing of MAC courses will come up: critical thinking, humanities and fine arts, critical thinking, natural science, critical thinking, social and behavioral science, diversity and equity, and foundations. So if you see, here they all are listed, and they correspond with the courses here listed. So the only thing you need to do if you're looking for a particular MAC course is you go to this section, go to the general education attributes, type in MAC, and then it'll have the list of all the MAC courses. And so let's start with the critical thinking, humanities and fine arts. Click that and then click search. And then these are the lists of all the MAC courses that correspond and meet the requirement for critical thinking, humanities, and fine arts. And then you go through these courses, and they're dance courses, or English courses, a lot of English courses, history courses, honors courses, and it'll say here, critical thinking, humanities, and fine arts. And you notice this is a global literature. So we'll talk about that too. So that's how you look up courses that correspond with the MAC requirement. It's that easy. And then you just go down the list and you look up the courses that you need to look up. Math courses are going to be like quantitative reasoning, but that's how you look them up. So let's say you are still under the general education core. And for most of you who are under the general education core, you should already have learned how to look up courses at this point. If you're a new transfer student, you're going to be under MAC. If you are a student who has changed their major, you are going to be under MAC. All of the students are going to be under the general education core requirement. And so you should know how to look up these courses by this time. Taking responsibility of your education, you should understand the nuances of these courses and how to look these courses up. And I think here was one right here that was, let's see here. So here we go. Here's one is a global fine arts and a global course. This dance appreciation course is a global fine arts and a global course. But I'm going to show you very similar. You're looking at your degree works, you're trying to tick off all these general education courses. You need a general literature course. How do you look up a general literature course? You go back over here, you under the general education attributes, you type in GLT, there's general literature, you click search, and these are all the general literature courses that are offered in the spring semester. Here at the very beginning, Chinese 210, Masterworks of Chinese Literature and Translation. It's a general literature and a global non-Western. So there's aspects of these courses that you need to understand and know about in relation to the nuance of the courses. So let's take this very first one here. You click this, and then a window will pop open, and this window will give you all the information you need to know about this course. It will give you a course description. It's not very lengthy, but it'll give you a course description. Students often ask me, so what is that course? I don't know. I haven't taken Chinese literature in translation to Chinese. So I don't know what it is, but there is a little bit of a course description to kind of tell you what it is. There is a bookstore link. And so you click that link and it'll pop open and it'll tell you the books that you need for that course. This one probably has not opened up yet, but if you need to, it will at some point towards the end of the semester, will have that. Any notes that to have for the course, the general education attributes are listed here. So it is a general literature and a global non-Western course. That means it meets 2 general education requirements. There's no restrictions for this course. So that means that you don't have to know Chinese to read this course or to take this course. Some of these courses, like for Chinese or Japanese or Spanish, require you to have had at least 1 or 2 years of Spanish before you take the course. This course does not. So what that tells me is that this course is going over Chinese literature that has been translated into English. And so you don't need to be able to read or understand Chinese to understand it. It has the instructors, the meeting times, the enrollment, which is the number of seats available for this course, which is 25. Are there any co-requisites? There's no co-requisites. There's no prerequisites. And so everything you need to know about this course will be listed when you go to these courses like mythology and you click it and all this information will pop up. Same thing, course description, general education attributes. This is a general and a general literature. I'm sorry, it's a global and a general literature course. There's no restrictions. And if there's no co-requisites or prerequisites, these are courses that you are able to take. It's that simple. So for those of you who are in the general education core requirement, I often encourage students to look at, hey, maybe try to do a writing intensive course that also meets a historical perspective if you can find one. What that means is that you have to go through and look at these courses and see what general education course requirements are met. This is another email that I'll get from students. Can you tell me a general literature course is also a writing intensive course or historical perspective? No, that's your responsibility. You have to take the time to go through and look through these courses and find the courses that you need for your education and the requirements to graduate. So those are the one that kind of emails that I get really frustrated with when students email me like, hey, could you tell me a course that meets these two requirements? You're asking me to do your work for you. That's not my responsibility. Your responsibility is to look at your degree works, determine what courses you have completed. There is a legend over here. This legend will tell you how to navigate degree works. In other words, it tells you if you have completed a course, it's a check mark and it's green. If you are currently enrolled in a course, there's a little squiggly mark right there. And then it lets you know which courses you've completed. So students will email me, it's like, hey, I'm taking such and such course. Does that meet my historical perspective? What you're asking me to do is to log into UNC Genie, look at your degree works and tell you what you can look at. So you really need to learn and understand and figure out what are the courses that you need, what courses meet what requirements, and we will go behind and check. There's no problem with that. But we don't like it when students email us asking us to really do your job for you, which is look up courses for you and tell you what courses meet general education requirements. That's part of your responsibility. So once again, I can't reinforce that enough. That's what you need to do to ensure that you are in the courses that you need when you need them and that you're staying on track. And then we will advise you in these things, but we won't look up courses for you and tell you what courses you need to. I mean, we'll tell you this is a course you need, but if that's a course that is going to meet a specific requirement at a specific time. So for the general education requirements, for those of you who are under the general education core, you need 2 writing and 2 speaking intensive courses. That means you need 1 writing and 1 speaking intensive course that are offered at the university, and social work 325, which is writing intensive, and 351 is speaking intensive, is going to meet the other requirement. So you only need 1 of those for each one from the university general education core requirement. For those of you who are under MAC, it's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about it. I think there's only 1 course that's like an oral course and 1 that's a written course, which is basically a writing and speaking intensive course. So for social work, you need a data analysis course. So under the general education core requirement, you need a general mathematics course. And if you take statistics 108, that will meet the general mathematics course requirement. If you are under the MAC, the Minerva Academic Curriculum, you need what is called a quantitative literacy, which is just a fancy term for a math course. And so statistics 108 will meet both the general mathematics requirement and the quantitative literacy requirement for either the general education core or the Minerva academic requirement. And it will meet the requirement for data analysis in social work. Some of you are uncomfortable with math and don't feel as comfortable taking a stats course. We have social work 250, and that's kind of like a stats light. So it's a data analysis course. It will not meet the math requirement or the quantitative literacy requirement for the university general education requirement courses, but it will meet the data analysis course. So if you take stats 108, it will meet both. If you don't feel as comfortable with statistics, I encourage students to take math 112. It's topics, I think it's called Topics of Mathematics. That will meet the math requirement at the university, either general math course or the quantitative literacy. But then you need to take social work 250 to meet the data analysis course. So you'll wind up taking 2 courses instead of 1. So unless you just really feel comfortable with math, think you understand statistics, or taken statistics and know you understand it in high school, if you've taken statistics at a community college that transfers in, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. That's another thing that you can consider. is that you could take stats at a community college, a statistics course at a community college, have it transfer in. It will meet the mathematical requirement and the data analysis requirement, and it'll transfer in with a T, which means it will not impact your GPA. So that's something to consider. You can consider that with human biology also. So just remember, Stats 108 will meet the math requirement for the university and the data analysis requirement for social work, but it will, social work 250 will meet the data analysis requirement, will not meet the math requirement. So you'll need to take a math course. I think I muted myself. So if you're under the general education core requirement or the Minerva academic requirement, then you can look at taking the culture and diversity electives, which are at the bottom. So when you look at social work and you look down there, it's at the bottom. Let me do a quick screen share. I'll show you. You should be familiar with it, but just in case you're not. So when you scroll down and you look at social work major, down here is cultural and diversity elective requirements. So you can take 1 year of foreign language at the elementary level, which is like Spanish 101, 102, French 101, 102, or you can take 2 courses in the cultural and diversity elective. These courses are listed right there. What we try to get you to understand is that that's not an extensive, it's not a extensive list. It takes us a while to get courses listed in that. We have to go through curriculum committee, get courses listed in that, and then some of those courses may not be offered anymore. And so you can take courses in those cultural and diversity electives, but you don't necessarily have to limit yourself to those courses. If you find a course that you're interested in that would meet the requirements, so think about it, the title is cultural and diversity elective. So these are usually courses that look at other cultures, ethnicities, are looking at issues of diversity, women and gender issues, LGBTQ plus issues, race, class, and gender within societies, courses based on what is considered like the global South. Then these are courses that we would consider. So you may find a course and you say, hey, I think I may want to take this course. It's not listed in the cultural and diversity elective. Would you take it? And yes, we will. You can take that course. You need to meet up with us afterwards, and we have to do what's called a curriculum modification. The example I give, English 209, I don't know if it's still available. English 209 is called Non-Western Literature, Post-Colonial Development. This is an example of a course that's not listed in the cultural and diversity elective, but we will take that towards the cultural and diversity elective requirement. So we're willing to work with you. If you are looking at other courses, you may be doing a minor in African diaspora studies, you may be doing a minor in women and gender studies. We'll consider courses in that to go towards your cultural and diversity elective also. Cultural and diversity electives are also a really good way to maximize your general education courses. So if you're still under the general education core, the GEC requirements, you could look at taking courses, especially in religion such as Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism. These courses will meet a cultural and diversity elective requirement. They will often meet a global and a global non-Western, and sometimes they will meet the GPR, which is the general philosophy and religion, or a historical perspective. So that's up to 3 course requirements are that you need for your general education requirements. So these are things that you need to look at, and that's why I say being really creative in looking up these courses and trying to determine what course is going to meet what general education requirements. So just to give you an example, let's see if it works for me. So looking at religious studies, click search. And you look over here, let's see. Here we go, Judaism. So Judaism is a historical perspective and a global course. And we will count that as a cultural and diversity elective. So it's religion 215. So it's gonna make me do this again. Hold on 1 second. So as you look down here under religion, it's religion 215. Oh, wow, this is unbelievable. This is the frustration you deal with DegreeWorks. Here you have religion 215, which is a cultural and diversity elective. It is a global course. It is also a historical perspective. So that's 3 educational courses, general education courses with one particular course. A really interesting way, and I can't do this with the what if analysis, but if you do a thing called look ahead, you type in REL 215, add course, and then click process, it will show you, hey, this course is a historical perspective and is a global course right here. So this look ahead feature is really good if you're looking at a course and you're trying to determine what kind of general education requirements does it meet. It will tell you, oh, wow, it's a historical perspective and it is a global non-Western. I am assuming that it would also do that with the Mac. I am not able to do it with this particular DegreeWorks because it's not set up for me to do it, but I'm assuming that it will allow you to do that with Mac. But the look ahead is a really good option to kind of let you know, hey, where are those general education courses going to meet, and how can I pop them into those general education requirements. So the cultural and diversity elective, once again, is a really good way to kind of maximize your general education core requirements. So grade replacements for students who you need a 2.5 GPA to apply to the major. That's our minimum requirement. You need a 2.5 GPA. So you may not have that 2.5 GPA right now. You have tanked a course. We've all done it in our educational career. We've taken the course we haven't done that well in. We've done a D, we've made an F in it. And so it's brought your GPA down. So what are you going to do? You can retake that course. You are allowed up to 3 grade replacements while you're at UNC Greensboro. So it means you could take up retake up to 3 courses. So let's say American Politics, Political Science 200, you made a D in it, and it's bringing your GPA down. What do I do? I don't know what to do. You retake American Politics. It has to be Political Science 200. It does not need to be with the same professor, but it does need to be the same course. You retake that course, you make an A in it. Then you go to UNCG Student First Office. You can Google it online. They have a grade replacement form. You submit it after you make the final grade. Once you've retaken the course, you submit the grade replacement form. It takes about a week for that new grade to come up, and it replaces the old grade. It moves that grade down. It's always on the transcript. It mocks you, of course, but it calculates the new grade into your GPA. It has been amazing. I will have students who are coming up on their junior year. They're in 310, 311, and their GPA is well below a 2.5 GPA, and they're doing a grade replacement course fall semester of junior year. So what will happen is when you apply to the major, I'll talk about this when I talk about applying to the major in greater detail. You will still apply to the major even though your GPA is below a 2.5. You'll get a letter stating you've not been admitted to the program. You reach out, say, I'm waiting for my grade replacement to come through, because it takes about a week after final grades for them to process it. And then once it's processed, if it bumps your GPA above the 2.5, you reach out to me and then we reevaluate your application. This is really helpful for transfer students, because what happens with transfer students, you transfer in with an associate's degree, all your general education courses are met. You're just taking 2 or 3 courses. One of them is like a political science or human development, family studies, and you tank one of those courses and your GPA just tanks immediately, because you don't have the long list of grades that a freshman or sophomore has to kind of calibrate that. And so it will bring your GPA down pretty quickly. If you retake the course, do well in it, and it'll bring your GPA right back up. So you need to make sure that you keep an eye on that and understand you have up to 3 of these. And once again, you can't take it at another university. You can't take it at a community college. You have to retake the same course. It does not have to be with the same professor, but it does need to be the same course. This is a reminder. You have up to 15 hours of free electives. So for transfer students, you may come in with over 60 semester hours, and so your electives have already met. For freshmen and sophomore, this is the glitch that's hit students when they come up in their final year, because it says DegreeWorks has all these check marks, but yet you don't understand, like, I've met all the requirements. Why am I like 15 hours behind? Is because you have not taken these general education core requirements, or I'm sorry, these free elective courses. So you have up to 15 hours free electives. That means anything: history, philosophy, religion, the English. The point of it is, at a university, you are an adult learner, and the university is giving you an opportunity to take courses in something you may be interested in. For some students, they don't like all that. They want a lot more structure in the 15 courses that they take. I'm sorry, the 15 hours, the 5 courses. And so you could look at doing minors. And we have a lot of students who do minors. So minors usually require 15 to 18 semester hours. Some minors are pretty restrictive. Human Development Family Studies, a lot of students like taking that because they're interested in working with family and children. It's a restrictive minor, which means you have very specific courses you need to take. Peace and Conflict Studies, we work really closely with Peace and Conflict Studies. That I have courses I encourage students to take in Peace and Conflict Studies. It's a very flexible minor, which means you can take almost anything in Peace and Conflict Studies to meet the 15 hours for your minor. Psychology, sociology, African diaspora studies, women and gender studies, gerontology. Gerontology is in the social work program, and so you can get your minor in gerontology for those of you who are interested in working with the aging population. There's a wealth of minors, and you can look at these minors and you can get an idea of what these minors look like on DegreeWorks using, once again, the what if analysis. Let me show you that really quick. I did not do that in navigating DegreeWorks. So looking at what if, let's say you are social work and you are interested in, I'm going to try, let's concentrate. I'm going to try Human Development Family Studies. I'm having some struggles with it. Let's see if I can get it to work. I was working with a student the other day. It wasn't showing up. Nope, it may not show up. I may have to do something else. Let's look at, try it the other way. There we go. So let's say you decide you want to do human development and family studies as a minor. So as you go down and you look, you see human development family studies is a pretty rigid minor. You have to have 111, 112, 221, 390, and then 2 semester hours in only 4 different courses. So it's a pretty restrictive minor. Students love it though. Students really like human development family studies, especially students who are really interested in working with families and children. So let's look up something like peace and conflict studies. Now, this is what a minor will look like. This is not declaring a minor. Click process what if, and you look down here, and as you can see, peace and conflict studies is a pretty flexible minor. You need 15 hours, and it has a list of courses. So there's a large number of courses that you can take to meet the minor peace and conflict study. So you have a little bit more autonomy and flexibility with peace and conflict studies as you would over something like human development family studies. This does not declare the minor. This is only what the minor will look like for you. To declare the minor, you need to Google UNCG change major. And then the first thing it should pop up is the change of major minor form. And then you navigate through this. They're doing updates on it right now. But you navigate through that, and then you're able to declare a minor or 2 minors. Usually just 1 minor is the best. And then you can also use that to change your majors. So that's for minors. Okay, social work 400 level electives. So for the seniors, I should have done this back earlier. So, but you'll all get this information. And for those of you who are moving towards, some students want to consider other courses. So in the spring, we'll be offering social services for children and substance use and social work practices. So once again, that's not an extensive list. So you may not be interested in doing substance use work or working with children. And so you may want to look at a course in another program like Peace and Conflict Studies or Human Development Family Studies, an upper level elective. We will consider those upper level electives for the social work 400 level electives. And you just need to work with us. Don't just assume that you're going to take a course in that. What will happen is I will negotiate with a student about taking a course in like Human Development Family Studies, and then they will tell their classmates, and they're like, oh, well, we all can take this course. No, you have to have a justification for it. You need to reach out to us and let us know. Otherwise, we're not going to take it. And so, the default is the social work 400 level courses. But if you do find courses in other departments and major upper level courses that you're interested in, then you just need to let us know. Plagiarism, this is all plagiarized from the website. This is just one of the things these are kind of housekeeping things I want to talk about in relation to it, just general overall things you need to know about the social work program. So plagiarism is when you're using other people's information as your own and writing papers and stuff like that. So to let you know, we all use Canvas, and when you write a paper and submit it, it goes through a program called Turnitin. And what that does is Turnitin scours the internet, and it alerts the faculty person of the fact that you may have plagiarized, that you may have copied and pasted from somebody else's work and posted it on your paper and have plagiarized directly. So this is an academic integrity violation, and it is a code of ethics violation. It is an academic integrity violation at the university, which means if you plagiarize something and use it as your own source, we can take this up to the university level and charge you with academic integrity violation, and then that will go on your permanent record. We would prefer not to do that. We'd like to use this as an educational opportunity to work with you and try to help educate you in what you've done and figure out ways for you not to do this again. But it's also a code of ethics violation. And this is where we really try to reinforce with social work students that you're not only bound by the university academic integrity, you're bound by the social work code of ethics. Integrity is one of our social work code of ethics and values. So you have violated both academic integrity violation and social work values and ethics. So just to be aware and to understand how sensitive this program is on Canvas, to Turnitin, we've had students who have written papers, submitted them at other institutions, and every time you post it, Moodle, Blackboard, Canvas, these are all online services. Once it gets posted on that online service, it's kind of embedded in the online service on the internet. So what happens is Turnitin will scour the whole entire internet. And so if you've had a friend who's written a similar paper and like, here, just copy my paper, I wrote this at Guilford Tech, they will never know, and submitted it, it will tell us. It will not tell us who wrote the paper, but it will say somebody has written a very similar paper and has submitted that at this institution and has 45% similar writing. So it will let us know that you may have plagiarized from a friend of yours. You buy a paper online. This more happens in English classes, stuff like that. These companies that sell papers online, they're not just selling a paper to you, they're selling them to everybody. So you have students all over the country who are uploading these papers they may have bought online, and the Turnitin program will tell us that you've, X number of percentage of this paper is similar to another paper that's been submitted at another university. We take plagiarism very seriously, not because it is only an academic integrity violation, but it is a code of ethics violation. You are bound by the social work values and code of ethics because we are accredited by the Council of Social Work Education. And so that means you're bound by codes of ethics for social work. Integrity is one of them. So you are violating two sets of integrity violation. And so academic and social work. And so we will try to work with students. If it's an ongoing problem, It can jeopardize your academic standing because we will send it up to the university. It will go on your permanent record. If it is a problem that manifests itself a couple of times, then it can jeopardize your standing in the program, because if you're violating code of ethics, I have a clinical license. If I violate the code of ethics and somebody reports me to the licensing board, my license can be suspended, it can be revoked, or I can be censored. So, I'm still bound by code of ethics because I have a clinical license. I'm bound by the code of ethics because I teach in a social work program that's accredited by the Council of Social Work Education. By default, as social work students, you are bound by the code of ethics because you are in a program that's accredited by the Council of Social Work Education. So we take things like plagiarism very seriously in the social work program. So just be aware of that. Email etiquette. This is my biggest pet peeve right here. Emails are not text messages. Social work is a professional program. I know I sometimes have a tendency to be a little bit more for emails, a little bit more laid back with emails. But I would not email the chancellor, the provost, or the dean of our program unless I'm using a very professionally oriented email. Dear Dean, so-and-so, dear Chancellor, so-and-so, dear Provost. I would be using a very formal approach in my email. So I have a tendency to be informal when I'm doing emails with colleagues and stuff like that. You're going into a professional setting. And our expectation when you email us as faculty is that you treat us with respect as you would if you're entering a professional setting, which means you need to email us, dear Professor Webb, dear Dr. Rhodes, dear Dr. Dyson. You are to email us and to construct your email in a very professional manner. You're not texting us. So you use a salutation and you ask very specific questions. I can't help you if I don't know the specifics of the questions you're trying to ask. Often I will get emails from students like, I want to know something about the paper. I'm teaching 2 classes in a semester. Which class are you in? I don't recognize your name right away because I'm teaching sometimes 60, 90 students. I am in your social work 411 class and I have a question about this paper, not, hey, I have a question about the paper, and then that's it. It's very frustrating for us. So you need to make sure that you comport your emails in a very professional way, avoid abbreviations. And this is something that I really try to encourage students, and I still see this happen. We'd like for you to include your UNCG ID number in your email. It's not essential. It's just a little bit easier for us because most of the questions relate to degree works. I need to look stuff up and just kind of get a sense of what's going on. Some of you will put your student ID number in your signature, so it goes out to anybody you email to from your UNCG account. Just recognize your UNCG ID number is a sensitive ID number. Most likely, your UNC Genie account is your UNCG ID number, and your login, your PIN code is your 6-digit birth date. That's not too hard to figure out. That's the default one. You can change it, and most of you have not changed it. So what that means is if you have your UNCG ID number embedded in your signature, you are emailing a very sensitive number out to anybody and everybody. So if you email friends or whatever, and then it doesn't take much for a person to figure out a birth date, and then they can log into your UNC Genie. And as you go in there and notice, there's a lot of really sensitive information there, your address, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. I would discourage you from having your UNCG ID number in your signature. Please try to remember to add it when you email us, but don't have it as part of your permanent signature that goes out to anybody that you email. So just be aware of email etiquette. I will reinforce this numerous times over the semester, and we'll get on to students about this. Because once you get to the point where you are looking at internships, you're getting ready to apply to an internship, you're going to be very formal and you're emailing the person who's going to potentially be your supervisor. We often tell students internships are like a year-long job interview. especially if you are thinking about taking some time off before you go to graduate school. And so you want to make a really good first impression in the very beginning there. And so that's why we're always encouraging you and reinforcing that you should have good email etiquette, even when you're emailing us, to make sure that you are following proper email etiquette. The other one I don't have up there is ask 3 before me. I got this from one of my colleagues. She has a kid in elementary school, and the teacher says you have to ask 3 before you ask me. The reason she uses that is because often teachers in school settings will give out information, and then students will ask the same question over and over again. Like I've already told you this several times. And so the point of the ask 3 before me is that the kid has to ask 3 of their classmates before they ask the teacher again, because they're going to be asking the same question over and over and over again. The look up 3 before me is often I will get students who will email me questions that you can easily Google. I'm always kind of astounded by this. You can Google UNCG calendar, and what will come up is the academic calendar for the year, and it has a lot of vital information. When is the add drop period? So when can you drop classes? You can Google UNCG change major, and it has the change major form right there. I just showed you how to do it. The website is down right now, but they're going to pull it back up. You can Google UNCG student first. Most of the information you can kind of Google, or it's in the syllabus or something like that. So before you and I think it's not a generational thing, it's a technological thing. I think what's happened is technology has given us this capacity to have instantaneous connection with people and can find information really quickly. So often what will happen is students will email me something, and literally like 5 minutes later, they'll email, oh, never mind, I found it. Once again, I have like 400 students. We have 400 students in the program. And when students are emailing questions that they could easily kind of Google or find, then I'm having to respond to these different emails, or I'm having to kind of follow up with these different emails. And it just takes a lot of time. And especially under COVID, where email has become our primary way of communicating, there's a lot of information. You just Google it. It's right there. You can find it. You can look it up, and it's there for you. We have a UNCG handbook. I'm going to send a new one out. A lot of information is in the UNCG handbook. Stuff is on the degree works. There's information that's accessible to you. I think that we have this kind of learned helplessness, like, oh, I'll just email him and he'll answer this question for me. And you multiply that times 400, and it becomes somewhat unmanageable. So if you can't find information, if you've tried to find it and you can't find it, by all means, please do email us or pop in on my office hours, and we will try to help you. That's our job. But also, we want you to be self-reliant. Look up this stuff, try to figure this stuff out. It's not that hard to figure a lot of things out. You just need to take time to learn it. And I think it can be overwhelming, and I understand that, but you do need to take time to learn these things. What I have done now is my email has an automated response. I don't necessarily like that. It's just my way of managing emails. And I have office hours where I'm in my office and during Zoom. So that means you can either come in the office and meet with me, or you can come in on Zoom. So when you email me, you should get an automated email response. And I try to update it each week to let you know what my office hours are for that week. Generally this semester, fall semester 2021, office hours are Monday and Wednesday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Friday afternoon from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then I have some flexibility with that if we need to schedule another time to meet. So that should be advising. I'm sure I've forgotten stuff. We have mandatory advising sessions on October 13th, 14th, and 15th, if I'm correct with those dates, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You've got some emails on this. I'll be sending more emails out to remind you. It will be Zoom sessions. Hopefully we'll be able to have faculty there so I can send you into breakout room sessions. That may not happen. I encourage you to think about questions that you want to ask. You can ask them in the open forum, not necessarily personal sensitive questions. What I like to happen during these Zoom sessions, especially where there's multiple students will often ask me, well, could you tell me about this history class? And I can't. I don't know all these classes. I don't know all these professors, but you do. The students actually, you all know these things, and you do a great job in communicating with each other when you think about it. So you may come in on a Zoom session and you're unsure which political science course to take with what professor. And There may be somebody in that Zoom session who has taken a political science course with a specific professor and did really well, and they can tell you this is the professor you should take over this professor. So those are the kind of things I really hope would come up during the Zoom sessions for advising. And then I will try my best to have extended office hours after that, so I can meet with students one-on-one to kind of look at your degree works. And a couple of us are going to try to do that so that we can meet with you for advising after that. So this is my advising session. I know it's a long video. Should be able to kind of move back and forth with it. I hopefully have covered everything I can. If I've forgotten, then I'll try to cover it during an open advising session coming this upcoming week. I hope everybody's staying healthy and safe, taking really good care of yourself. And I look forward to seeing you all really soon. Thank you and take care.